Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, bringing you a fan-based podcast endorsed by Uriah Heep. And today, we are going over the final song on the Salisbury album, Season 2, Episode 7, a bonus track called Here Am I. And, there's just a beautiful vocal on this song, and we're going to get into that. First, I want to let you guys know, of course, I'm recording this Tuesday night. So the Salisbury episodes, which I split into 3 episodes, have only just come out today. As of this moment, no one has claimed the winning spot in the contest. So that will continue, of course, by the time that this episode airs. Somebody may have, but as of now, no one has. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, all you have to do is find my SoundCloud account, find the song that has the riff that was inspired by a riff on this album, and then let me know what it is. And you can send me an email at uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com if you have the right song and the song that it belongs to. Then you will win a digital copy of a Uriah Heep album. How cool is that? So that should be fun. Now, I also want to give you guys a quick shout out because we are now rating on iTunes and Apple Podcasts, which is really cool. We have 7 5-star ratings so far, which is awesome. No reviews yet, but just the fact that we have crossed that threshold of 5 means that the ratings are actually showing on Apple Podcasts and iTunes now. So thank you guys for that. Thank you guys for all the likes and things of the individual episodes. I only see them on a couple of platforms. So if you're not doing them on Podbean, I may not see them. That's the place I see them most. I do have some access to the ones that show up on the Apple products, but mainly the go-to for me is Podbean because that's where my hosting is. But thank you guys very much for all the show support, for all of you that share the posts that help spread the word. And, help people keep finding this wonderful music, because I'm sure that as many fans as Uriah Heep has, I bet there's a ton of people out there that would just love this music if they just had a reason to give it a chance besides taking the time themselves to do it. A lot of people will do it if there's something supplemental like a podcast. A lot of people find bands through podcasts. It's really amazing, this platform. And I'm really glad to be a part of it and really glad to be with my Deep Dive brothers in their individual band podcasts as well. So that's everything that's going on here. Let's just jump right into the song. This is called Here Am I. It is a bonus track. I believe it was on the Lansdowne tapes. And when they went back to do the deluxe editions, the folks that were in charge of that made sure to include it. Very interesting little track. You can understand why it didn't make the album because it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the songs. But I always have to give this caveat. When I say things like that, I have to really try and figure out, and I can't, but try and figure out whether I feel that way because of the fact that I know the album so well, that I've been listening to this album for decades, and it is what it is to me. And whenever I hear bonus tracks, they always seem separate from the album, but usually they're mixed differently. They're remixed for a release. And so they don't have that same sonic quality as they do in the album. Not saying it's worse, but just different because they weren't all mixed together using the same equipment and the same processes. So there's that. But there's also the fact that, it could just be that it wasn't included because it didn't fit according to the band or the producer or whoever it was, that combination of people making that decision. In this case, I think it's a good song, but I think it definitely didn't really fit on this album. And it really feels to me, I guess, a little bit more like a Ken Hensley solo song. And I'll have to look. I don't have all of his albums, but I'll have to look and see if it was one that he did at some point. But it definitely feels more like a Ken Hensley song. And that being said, though, there's a lot of value in it. I think it has a great vocal. And I say we just jump right in. So here it is. Here Am I by Uriah Heep, the bonus track off of Salisbury. I had to go digging a little bit to find the song that this reminded me of, just sort of vaguely, but it is a Jimi Hendrix song off of the Are You Experienced album that is called This May Be Love. And it just has that same, real gentle feel to it. Obviously, it's Hendrix, so it's going to be very guitar oriented. But the other musicians in his band were fantastic too. Let's not downplay them by any means. He was playing with some top-notch players. But it just has that real, almost not quite psychedelic, but right on the edge of that feel to it for me. Just a real beautiful intro. And it just kind of is one of those things where I feel like I could just lean back on the pillow, close my eyes, have the headphones on, and just immerse myself in this sort of pool of music that they were creating here. It's really, really warm and inviting.
I sit in my sunny chair with my head held low. I know the reason I'm dreaming. It's really been fun, but where is there left to go? Safe to give my life a new meaning.
Doesn't this at this point kind of feel like a mid to late 60s song, kind of a, everybody just chill and let's just relax, man, and just drift away with the music. I certainly do. I get that impression of it so far. But I love the feel of it. It's just so gentle and cohesive, but yet even with as gentle as it is, it still sounds nice and full. It doesn't feel like it's lacking from anything, even though there's not a huge amount going on musically. Mick's really covering the spectrum, I think, with the tremolo and the decay on the guitar. It really kind of fills up the space nicely. And then you have Paul Newton on the bass, just kind of searching for that right place to be. It feels like we're kind of just like finding a place in the park to sit. And I really like that. And then the vocals are just nice and gentle, but they're really rich in emotion. It's interesting because even though this is really simplistic right now, it still feels very full to me. It doesn't feel like it's lacking anything for sound or for clarity or for emotion. Anything extra added might actually cloud it up a little more. So I think this is a really nice passage through here.
And if by chance you come my way, I'll have to say, here am I, give me love. Here am I, give me love.
I think I would be remiss if I didn't take a second here to just acknowledge how beautiful that vocal was. You can hear voices layered in there. It sounds nice and thick, but gentle, very gentle. And it's a real art, I think, to be able to take singers that are so great, but all sound so individual and blend them together like this. You can feel that there's a higher voice in there. You can feel that there's a good thickness in the mid range. But overall, it just sounds beautiful and really plays along well with the music. I also should point out, this is a 7 minute and 50 second song quite a long one for one that didn't get included on the album. But then you've got Salisbury's 16 minutes plus. So to have two long songs on an album, that might have been one of the factors as to why. But I kind of feel like this song is as good as it is, as much as I like it. I think it could have used a little more polish, and maybe that's why it didn't make it on the album as well. But I really love this journey we're taking down the river here. And if you think about it, this could have been from a lyrical standpoint, and if this was a concept album, this certainly would have worked. But this could have been a good precursor to Lady in Black, kind of that I'm yearning for someone to come into my world and show me love and be a part of this. And then the Lady in Black, in her own way, did that. So I think these songs could have played very well together from a lyrical standpoint. Musically, I don't think as well musically, but certainly, like I said, if it was a concept album, it could have been worked out to where these songs would work together. But definitely from a lyrical standpoint, anyway. But I'll shut up and play some more of the song.
How was I to know your heart wasn't satisfied when you never troubled to tell me? No wish that you made to me ever was denied. I played it just the way that it should be. But then you turned and walked away. I had to say, here am I, give me love. Here am I, give me love.
That was a beautiful intro into that last part by Mick Box. And then, within that verse, you hear the vocals are thickening up even more, just lovely. And then you've got that gentle picking, and then the wandering bass line. It just brings out such a warm tonality. And I'm going to have to play around with that as a composer, because I think there's really something there. I think there's something to those elements coming together that bring out a really interesting feel, especially at this tempo. If it was a little slower, a wandering bass line can sound, even if you're letting the notes ring out, it can still sound just a little too staccato or not right. But at this tempo, to be wandering around in the scale sounds really good. And then just the rich fullness of the guitars. Vocals are just so dynamic and beautiful. And before it gets crazy here, which is going to, just a nice little touch with Mick Box, moving that wah pedal around. I would be curious to know how many wah pedals Mick Box has gone through in the course of his life. It has to be quite a few, right? Just in Uriah Heep, 50 years plus, he didn't just start playing and had Uriah Heep. He'd been playing long before that. So that might be an interesting thing to know if he even knows. But definitely just a beautiful passage here. And now we're going to hit a different stride in the song. Let's just see where it goes. Well, there are a couple of points there that I thought about stopping it, but the fact of the matter is, you do not interrupt a Mick Box solo. That is the rule. You just don't. Why would you? Be silly. Who would fade a Mick Box solo out into oblivion? No one. That's who. Anyway, wow, a lot of stuff to unpack here. It's a very strange transition into this middle section, I think. I felt almost parts of that were very classically influenced, I want to say. Really kind of felt like maybe Deep Purple Book of Taliesin would have gone well on that. I'm not sure how well this section fits into this song. I mean, it's nice to do something a little bit different and change it up, but that was just such a nice little river we were flowing on. And then I feel like just out of nowhere, we hit the rapids. I like the part. I think I heard a little inflection of Tears in My Eyes in there, if I'm not mistaken. Great solo work. And that was a very long passage to keep soloing over too. Couple guitars in there, working off of each other, which was really nice. Really powerful stuff, but kind of weird from where we were to go into this. And then it just kind of ended very abruptly, almost awkwardly, I felt. But I liked the part. I think a second song could have come from that. And maybe somewhere down the line it does. I don't know. I'll have to hear if I hear something and it throws me back to this, then I'll know for sure. But I did hear a couple of seconds of what felt like Tears in My Eyes, and we'll be getting to that on the next album, Look at Yourself. But an interesting transition and change in the song, and then it just immediately just drops right into the vocals. Now, I also want to talk about that last section too, because I really love what the background music is doing. It's not just going down, as you would in down the scale. It's hitting some really interesting notes and ones that you wouldn't think would follow the previous one. It doesn't just go da 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 like you would expect. It just has these really interesting choices that were made to go from one note to the next, and that is very interesting to me, because it's not something that I can really say I've heard done quite this way before. So I think that's pretty unique. I really think they could have gotten a second song out of like taking the gentle section, making a song out of that, and then taking this and doing something with that. Could have been really cool. So it could have had its place. Maybe not necessarily, again, on Salisbury, but certainly somewhere, because I think there's some really good stuff here. But a cool piece, nonetheless. I really like that. Great solo work from Mick. Great with everybody else backing him up. Also, I mean, let's talk about the drums. How great are those? Just really powerful. Some great drum rolls in there. Really moving things along. It's amazing how quickly you can kick up from something gentle to something that really just pushes and drives like that, and then diminish right back into calm waters again. But I feel in the vocal here, I feel it's not quite desperate. It's like, I'm confident in who I am. I'm ready to be loved. But I also feel a hint of, I'm lonely and I want to be loved. It's interesting that I can find both emotions in that, because usually it would be one or the other. And I find quite a healthy mix of both, which is really unique. I don't know how that was created, but that's what I'm getting out of it, at least in this moment that I'm listening and recording and babbling on. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys feel in this? What emotions is it drawing from you? I'd like to know. Let's have a discussion about that. I'm curious to know what this song means to you and what you're feeling from it. I feel, what are the words? I think just what I said. I think I said it right. I think I feel that sense of, I'm confident in who I am, but there's some part of me that's missing, and I need somebody to come and complete it. Let's ponder that. I love the idea of the rim shots here. They feel like the right thing to play, but they seem really dry to me, don't they? To you guys, here you have this big, world of sounds that are just filling up the room, And the rim shots just seem so dry and like they just cut off, and they really kind of feel out of place. I think if they would have added a little more reverb to it and kind of made them have a bigger space inside that space, I think that would have worked a little bit better. But again, this was it was an unreleased track, and they made the choices kind of on the fly. It wasn't probably, I doubt the band had any involvement in that. If any, it was probably minimal, because usually these things are done by whatever record company or group is putting them out. So, but yeah, I kind of feel like the rim shots work, but they could use a little bit of sound treatment here. Just my thoughts.
I imagine I must sit here till the winter comes and just watch the days growing shorter. The gathering dust won't go till my thinking's done, and I walk from this troubled water. By then my need won't be so bad, and I'll gladly say, here am I, give me love. Here am I, give me love.
I really like that they ended it there instead of just kept that going and fading out, because that's something that you could have easily just kept going for a long time. I still love the mood of it. There's part of me that wants more, but I think the song ended the way it should have. But a beautiful passage nonetheless, and I really love the emotion and the feel of this. It's a good song. I still I stand by what I said. I think they could have gotten two really cool songs out of this. And, as Paul Newton said in my interview with him, he said that they would take, pieces of this and pieces of that and put them together and make a song. So I think that these are two pieces that could have been put into other things and or been pieces that stood on their own with a little bit of doctoring and made something pretty special here. But I like the song. I just think that middle section's a little bit weird. Now, speaking of the middle section, before you guys write to me and say I missed something, and I'll go ahead and play that for you. I didn't miss it. I actually just forgot to mention it because I had played out that full middle section in there and didn't want to interrupt the solo. So here's the part that you guys aren't going to have to write me about. Now, I would imagine that this was being recorded as a demo, or, hey, let's lay it down and see how it sounds and we can make decisions on it or something, because usually the engineer or somebody would have stepped in and said, hey, quit hitting your sticks together when you're playing a drum roll. Knock it off. And they would have re-recorded it. So I have to think that this is just like, hey, you know what? We're just going to record the song. We'll put it down. We see what we think. And then they decided it didn't work for the album. But, it's hard for me to really fathom that this is almost an 8-minute song, because as simple as the majority of the song is, with just that little, the little guitar sounds and the background and some really nice vocals, it actually really carries well. And I wouldn't think that that I would like a song like this, but I really do. I really do. I think it's good. I think it's got merit. I think a lot more could be developed from it. But as we have it on this track, collectively called Here Am I think it's a good song. And I'm really glad I got to share it with you guys. So that's Salisbury, guys. That's the whole album. We're done with season 2 now. And then tomorrow, we're going to start the Look at Yourself album with a song called Look at Yourself. And we will take a look at them instead of ourselves for the song. But it's a great album. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed Salisbury. I know it's a fan favorite. Really lot of a really lot of great songs on it. I don't know how to talk. But it's a good album. It's always been one of my favorites, one of my go-tos, to be honest. And really had a good time sharing it with you guys. I hope that you did too. So remember the contest. If somebody hasn't won already, get yourself that copy of the Uriah Heep album of your choice. Any studio album that they did will be yours if you are the first one to name that song and the song that it came from. And that's it, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining me for my reviews of the Salisbury album. Tomorrow we begin season 3. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!